Hi YouTube. Today I'm back again with ranking all of the nocturnes that I've played so far in terms of difficulty. So I'll start off with the Opus 9 number 1 Nocturne from Chopin. I've just began learning this nocturne about a week ago, and I've had a pretty smooth learning experience so far. Although learning the polyrhythms was a tough challenge initially, I was eventually able to overcome them with slow practice. Another interesting challenge about this piece is the large left-hand jumps, or I should rather say the left-hand stretches. They usually do require a larger hand to accomplish, and it can definitely be problematic for smaller hands. So therefore, I would rate this piece a 3 out of 5 for difficulty. Next up is the famous Nocturne Opus 9 number 2. One of the reasons why this particular nocturne was very popular is that it was very accessible to most pianists. Although there are large leaps in left hand, the piece is at a slow tempo, so that it is not too challenging for the intermediate pianist. The main challenge to this piece is to learn the cantabile style of playing in the right hand and having that delicate touch. But since it is a good piece for learning how to play expressively, I would rate this a 2.5 out of 5 in terms of difficulty. Next up is the Nocturne Opus 15 number 1. I would say this is one of the hardest nocturnes out of Chopin's works due to the conforto section rather than the slower andante section. In the conforto section, the rapid alternating sixths in the right hand are definitely the biggest challenge of this piece, and it just takes a lot of meticulous practice over time to slowly perfect the technique. So I would rate this a 4 out of 5 in terms of difficulty. Now I present to you Opus 15 number 3. This nocturne has quite a different character, and I find that the accelerando section in this nocturne is the hardest part. Knowing how to coordinate the slowly accelerating chords that span a large interval in both left and right hand is definitely a challenge, and the many accidentals written in that passage also pose a problem. But other than that section, the rest of the piece is quite straightforward. So therefore, I would rate this nocturne a 3 out of 5 in terms of difficulty, which places it roughly as around the same difficulty as the Opus 9 number 1. Opus 32 No. 1 Nocturne is one of my most favorite pieces to play. The B major scale fits well under the fingers, and the slow yet not too dragging tempo is very pleasing to play through. I'd say the main challenge of this piece is just through sight reading the many sharps and double sharps written in the score. But once you get past the sight reading, I feel as though getting it up to performance is quite straightforward and is quite the pleasing experience as well. So therefore, I'd rate this a 2 out of 5 in terms of difficulty, slightly easier than the other nocturnes. I find that this nocturne, the Opus 37 No. 1, shares many similarities to the Opus 32 No. 1 previously mentioned, as well as the Opus 15 No. 3 mentioned. It is in the key of G minor, which matches that of Opus 15 No. 3, and the character of the piece sort of matches the Opus 32 No. 1, just in the more depressing and darker mood. So since it pretty much mirrors the Opus 32 No. 1's difficulty, I would also rank this nocturne as a 2 out of 5 in terms of difficulty. Now for the Opus 48 No. 2 Nocturne. I like this nocturne for its dark and dramatic effects, since the chief subject and the secondary subject differ so greatly. I find that the main difficulties of this piece is within the chief subject, mainly in the octaves section, as well as the recapitulation of the chief subject after the secondary subject. This nocturne requires a high degree of musicality as well, which definitely took quite a bit of time for me to get to a proficient level. So therefore, I would rate this nocturne a 3.5 out of 5, which puts it towards the upper end of difficulty. This nocturne, the Opus 62 No. 2, has such a unique character to it. Its dense chords, as well as its dreamy nature, certainly sets it apart from the traditional nocturne. But don't be deceived by its seemingly simple beginning, as the agitato section is where most of the difficulties of this piece lie. Having to manage 3 different voices during the agitato section was certainly a big challenge for me, as there's a lot of counterpoint in that passage. Therefore, I would rank this nocturne a 4 out of 5, which puts it as one of the most difficult nocturnes, up there with the Opus 15 No. 1. And last, but certainly not least, is the posthumous C-sharp minor nocturne. This nocturne has grown to be one of the most popular nocturnes of Chopin's time, despite it being posthumously published, which meant that it was published after Chopin's death. Despite it being structurally simple, it does have large flourishes towards the end of the piece involving scales, which requires a lot of finger speed to accomplish. This piece, due to its drawn-out tempo, allows the pianist to fully express themselves. Apart from the elaborate ornamentations, this nocturne is structurally simpler than the other nocturnes, and therefore it is a great piece for the young pianist or the early intermediate pianist to learn. And I would rank this a 2 out of 5. With that wraps up my ranking of the nocturnes that I've played so far. I aim to play all of the nocturnes one day and give my personal opinions on each one. I hope you all found this video entertaining and interesting, and feel free to comment below on what your favorite nocturne is.